Coming up tonight, a lawsuit before the courts alleging that the process to determine the new commissioner of prisons was flawed and political. Hear why two senior officers say they were strategically removed out of the runnings to ensure a political gift was awarded. Also, the opposition up in arms tonight over a large delegation of senior government officials who made the Japan trip for the IAAF World Relays. Hear why they call it hypocritical. Is it a double standard? And a closer review of the Defense Force officer charged with killing his fellow officer at Government House. An inquiry underway, although the courts have begun the arraignment process. How does it all work? Beyond the Headlines starts now.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Beyond the Headlines. I'm Clint Watson. As always, it's great to have you with us and joining us tonight as we talk about a situation that's very important. Is it a case of entitlement or one where fair play has actually been ignored? We're talking about the Bahamas Department of Corrections, where two senior Bahamas Department of Correction officers are suing the government, claiming they were overlooked for a promotion they were both qualified for. Now, earlier this year, Charles Murphy was appointed Commissioner of Corrections, but his position is now being challenged. Sanchester Brown has more.
Don Clare and Bernadette Thompson Murray allege in affidavits filed in the Supreme Court on Friday that National Security Minister Marvin Dames forced them to take vacation leave to facilitate the appointment of Charles Murphy, their junior, as Commissioner of Corrections. They want the Supreme Court to quash his appointment and declare it invalid. Both Clare and Murray claim they were forced to take vacation leave last year, even though Murphy had accumulated more leave than both of them combined. They also allege that upon returning from their leave, they were prevented by the acting permanent secretary from performing their duties. It was also claimed that the move was political, as it is claimed that Murphy openly campaigned for the Free National Movement during the last election. In her affidavit, Murray said she was acting as Commissioner of Corrections after former Commissioner Patrick Wright retired. She said in a meeting with National Security Minister Marvin Dames on August 7th, he made it clear to her that she would never be given the opportunity to become commissioner. Therefore, she did not apply for the position, as she was given the impression that the position was already filled by Murphy and the process of seeking an applicant was just a formality. Murray, who has worked for the department for more than 30 years, said she believes she is either being forced to retire or transferred. She said Murphy does not meet the requirements as outlined for the advertised position. In his affidavit, Clare also claims that Commissioner Murphy does not meet any of the requirements set out by the Public Service Commission and is not qualified for the job. He claims that after returning from his 23 weeks of forced leave on February 23rd, the locks on his office were changed. Nevertheless, he said he applied for the commissioner position as he worked at the BDOC for more than 25 years and has the experience. However, he said he was denied the position by the panel, which he said no one on it had any experience to judge the appropriateness of the candidates. Clare further claimed that the panel's chairman headed the F&M Kalani constituency office between 2012 and 2017, which is the constituency of Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis. Both are being represented by Monroe and Associates. Sancheska Brown, Eyewitness News.
Well, this is just one of three topics we're going to be talking tonight. We're getting into it tonight. Please welcome to get into it with me tonight is Beyond the Headlines contributors Joey Gaskins and Levon Miller. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. This is the eve of anniversary. Yeah. Tomorrow we'll be 1 year on the air.
Congratulations, Clint.
We're excited. Congratulations to you guys as well. We're looking forward to our celebration tomorrow here. You want to watch that show. But let's get to the topic at hand. Mm-hmm. All right, Murphy has been appointed. Mm-hmm. Now, I want to set some things in place to help people understand.
Some
context. Because this was the man who was in charge of maximum security prison. Mm-hmm. He was not the next in line for commissioner.
Okay.
There were two deputy commissioners. One who was the senior person was the female here who was filed the lawsuit. She was the next in command. Matter of fact, we would have met her when we went there to the prison documentary. We would have interviewed her extensively. She was the next in charge. She was responsible for the biggest areas, which is security, all of that at the prisons. So she had a big portfolio. She was quite impressive from what we saw. and what we talked to her about, she was quite impressive. And we figured, okay, this would be interesting that she had somebody at the helm who was very impressive. Now, what we didn't know was that obviously a lot of what they said in their filing in this motion of the lawsuit, that they were asked to go on vacation leave, to take this vacations immediately. Those two, even though they didn't have as much vacation leave racked up as he did. He had more vacation leave than them, but they were asked to go on vacation leave. They said in their statement, they believed they were asked to go so they could move them out of the way so he would be next in line for this position. They then also said in it the fact that they believe is political because during the election campaign, it was a known fact that he mandated the F&M's campaign center in Killarney, where the Prime Minister ran. He ran the offices there and campaigned for the Free National Movement openly. So they're using all of these as factors to say, this process could not have been fair. Why were we removed to go on immediate leave when he has more vacation than we do? So you couldn't use the vacation leave factor. Our qualifications are more than he has. On paper, they have more qualifications than he has for the position. They are more senior to him in the position. So at the end of the day, what can you legitimately say that he deserved this position? They now have filed a lawsuit because unlike many Bahamians, we talk a lot, but we don't take action. They have taken action and actually filed a lawsuit against the government to have this decision reversed.
Well, Glenn, let me say this. These things never play out well. They particularly never play out well in the uniform branches. So there are two sets of cases that come to my mind, right? Of course, we would recall the case of now Her Ladyship Cheryl Grant Bethel when she took action against the Ingram administration for being overlooked for DPP. So that plays out in my mind. We remember the court came back and said, yes, she should have been the next person, and the government really couldn't give a good reason as to why she wasn't. But if you would recall, she never became DPP. She became Director of Legal Reform and then
Chief Justice.
And then a learned justice of the Supreme Court, right? So we saw that. We saw that some, and if you remember, Mr. Ingram was quite tumultuous in his attacks
Oh yes.
of Cheryl Grant Bethel,
yes.
right? Then we see, if we go into the uniform branches, let's look at Mr. B.K. Barnaby. When he became the Commissioner of Police, he jumped from Superintendent all the way to Commissioner, or Chief Superintendent, I think it was. And then if we look at Mr. Paul Farquharson, he came from Superintendent of Police to Commissioner of Police, and I'm sure he passed some people along the way. Let's jump over to the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, Clifford Scavala. Clifford Scavala came from being a Lieutenant Commander all the way to the Command of the Defense Force. And of course, there would have been the Roderick Bowes and all those people that would have been ahead of him, Mr. G. Roll and all of those, who were frustrated and infuriated that this happened. The point I'm making is, I think precedent has been set in many instances where uniform officers kind of just accept that sometimes you get skipped over in the line. Now, what I think the minister is going to have to explain to us is what's going on with all of this hocus pocus time off.
I think that's
You know what I mean? All of this, you go disappear and you go disappear and you go, because I promise you, he's going to have to deal with this with Mr. Ken Strawn should this thing at the prison catch any wind. I promise you it.
Interesting. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll allow you to speak to this matter, Joey. I have a feeling this is going to uncan a lot of worms because of how it's been going about and the rationale behind it. You watch me on the headline. Stay close. We're back after this.
Looking for quiet, relaxation, elegance, and luxurious but yet affordable pampering? Come and see us at Baja Retreat Spa, East Bay Street next to Luciano's. How about a manicure, pedicure, facial, eyebrow threading, and body sugaring? You can purchase an instant gift certificate online at www.bajaretreat.com or call us at 323-6711.
They say time flies when you're having fun, but can you believe it's been 1 year since Eyewitness News made its debut? We're the new news standard, and to show our appreciation for your support, we're having a week-long celebration. We'll highlight some of the best moments in news since 2018. We take the fun to the streets of the capital on Saturday at 11 a.m. with an exciting float parade. Come out to see the country's top news reporters as we spread the love. And then join us at R.M. Bailey Park, where the float parade will culminate at 2 p.m. There will be 20 exciting pop-up vendors for you to enjoy sweet treats and so much more. And then on Sunday, we invite you to celebrate with us at our anniversary church service to be held at Trinity Assembly City of Praise. It's our 1-year anniversary, and we want you to celebrate with us.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines on the eve of our 1-year anniversary. My guests are Beyond the Headlines contributors Joey Gaskins and Levon Miller. We're talking about the lawsuit that's before the Supreme Court now by 2 senior officers of the Bahamas Department of Corrections against the appointment of Murphy as commissioner. And they're saying that should not have happened. They were overlooked, and some things strategically happened to move them out of the way so that they would not be next in line for it. Now, what's interesting, I'm going to let you speak to this, Joey, is the fact that normally it works at rank and file in these armed forces. Right. It's based on rank. Right. So if it's not like in the public service or other places you just appoint who you want and they supersede somebody. It works by rank and file. So if you're next, you're next.
Yeah, I agree, but I also think that the way that uniformed officers are trained, it's likely that they accept the command, I think, more readily than you might see in the public service. I think, from the political standpoint, there is a way to avoid these kinds of issues, right? And it was embedded in the FNM's campaign prior to the election, and that is transparency and accountability. Yeah. If you can detail why it is that this person deserves their position more than the other people through an independent panel, through very clear kind of scoring, as we do with contracts and during procurement, and then you can avoid these questions, or at least attempt to avoid these questions about whether or not this is favoritism. But where you have this kind of what you called it magic, what did you call it before the break? This kind of hocus pocus, where people are being moved around, shuffled up, down, and around without any kind of communication or explanation as to why. If there's a strategy behind this, if there is some explanation, then you get this. And this kind of conflict we're seeing happen over and over again. And it's entirely, in my mind, it's entirely avoidable.
Well, there is one other point you have to factor in, right, Joey? So you have to factor in what is the government's intent. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, that is the overriding factor. Right?
That is the question.
If you recall, when Davy Rowe left as the commander of the Defense Force, the narrative that had been set was that the force had fallen asleep. Right. No one was showing up for work. There were a bunch of slack people. If you remember, Clifford Scavala came in on his first day as commander of the Defense Force. He says, the way I see it, 50% of the men and women here are good people. Mm-hmm. Then there are 25% that'll go either way, and then there's another 25% that
needs to go.
And if you the newspaper came out the very next day, Commander Defense Force says 250 Marines must go. But that wasn't what he said. Yeah. Right. But he needed to set the narrative that, okay, the dawn of a new day was here. All of this study leave and time off, and that was the government of the day's intent.
Oh, I totally agree with you. If this is a grand reform, if this is a grand restructuring of the security services, then say that and lay that out for the Bahamian people. And I'm so tired of making this point over and over again. I think people think it's because this is the kind of work that I do, but communicate to the Bahamian public, communicate to the stakeholders in the room. If we are doing this because you feel like the leadership has not been as effective as possible or as effective as they needed to be, and that by doing this we can improve the way that these organizations perform, then say that.
And if that is the case, the leadership he's a part of the leadership as well.
Right.
Yeah. He was a part of the leadership. He was the officer in charge of maximum security. Mm-hmm. So they were all a part of the top leadership team.
Right.
So if you're displeased with your leadership team, then why do you still appoint somebody out of that leadership team?
But to Lee's point, if the government has a vision, then it's very easy to say this person best reflects the direction that we want to go in, and here's why we chose it. Right. But if all we're seeing is people randomly going on vacation for weeks at a time and then coming back, as the affidavit claims, with their doors locked. The locks changed on their doors. That's not the way that we go about governing.
No. But I will tell you this now, and these are the kinds of things that give people fear or cause fearfulness when you talk about putting former senior police officers to be ministers of national security. Mm-hmm. I mean, Marvin Dames has worked with some of these people in his career, right? We see it happening in the police force. We're about to see it in the defense force. We're seeing it now in the prison. because you have intimate knowledge of how the system works or how you believe the system should have worked or what you would have liked to have seen during your 25 or 30 years, you come with a jaundiced view. And once you've reached a certain level of seniority, senior officers don't take instructions very well. They're very good at giving them. And what we're seeing is a deputy commissioner of police, right, who has now carte blanche, and he's wielding the big stick and letting people know that I'm in charge now.
But here's the problem with not communicating. You leave a vacuum, right? And that is the assumption that can be made. We don't know if that's the truth or not.
But because let's look at their methodology. That is how they operate.
But I'm just saying that, nefarious intent can be attributed to someone when they don't communicate what their actual intent is. And I think that there's a vacuum here and we see this last administration, this administration, where things happen and there's no communication between the decision that was made and when it happens. And so everybody kind of comes up with their own idea of what's actually going on. And instead of saying, we've made this decision because of X, Y, Z, we have this vision that we want to execute on. This person is the best person to fit that vision. We're moving forward this way. We don't get any of that. What we get is, he may not like these guys. This may be political. This may be, you know what I mean?
I believe you've given it too much thought. Marvin James has named himself Brigadier General of the Bahamas.
The question they brought into play in the affidavit that says that he operated the campaign office and was intimately involved in the campaigning for the Free National Movement. Do you believe that's an important factor?
Well, that
is problematic. Definitely,
that in itself should have eliminated him.
It's problematic.
Why do you say should have eliminated?
I mean, come on. General orders are very clear, right? No serving member of any armed force is allowed to in any way participate in political rallies and that sort of thing. These instructions are clear. The question would then become, was he a serving member at the time? If the answer to that is yes, all I need is one picture of him in an F&M t-shirt.
But I think the other thing is,
But many officers said they've seen that. They've seen him campaigning. They see he was out with the teams campaigning.
This is my point.
And I think on the political side of things, it is the appearance of impropriety that becomes the problem. I said that on this show before. What needs to happen is the avoidance of the appearance of impropriety.
Right.
So even if you didn't have an intent, if there was no nefarious intent, even if you are not being, inappropriate, the fact that it may look like that should give you pause before you make the decision.
Well, I've said, Joey, that, when this government finds itself out of office, it won't be because they didn't work. It won't be because they didn't implement new policies. It won't be because they didn't get the economy up and running. It is going to simply be because Bahamians believe they lie a lot. Mm-hmm. You said transparency and accountability was going to be the order of the day. You lied. Right. You said the stuff that the old guys did, we don't act that way. That's not our style. The lie detector test determined that was also a lie. And so when the day comes and the day of reckoning comes and the Bahamian people regain the grip of power for that one day and get into that box, you'd better believe the one thing they're going to remember is y'all is a bunch of lying people.
If the courts agree with their cause and their plight and the decision is overturned, and they're told to go back and to reevaluate, do you believe that will still put them in a position to be considered?
Who would want to then?
Yeah,
Who
would want to be, given that
commissioner by default?
Yeah, commissioner by default.
No, I mean
then why put the petition in?
Because
is it just to make a statement?
And so so people cannot diddle you. Right? Once you kind of leave. Because I'm sure the minister knows exactly the way this man and this woman felt. I'm sure if you heard, she said that
because she said in an affidavit, the minister told her that she would never be the commissioner. And
the fact that, obviously, I'm sure she must have expressed some strong sentiments, from that. I need to now ensure that I put a buffer between me and somebody that is obviously a powerful man. And I think this was the right direction to take. And I typically oppose this type of behavior. But I say put it in the courts. That way, if anything happened to you from here on in, it has to be victimization.
This is why we have co-equal branches of government, or should have co-equal branches of government.
The judge could tell the minister, don't touch this decent woman. Yeah. And then you could be safe.
All I know, that's a very contentious environment with top brass sitting around the table.
Well, I mean, you'd think people would be tired of going to court.
Yeah, we love the court system. We're going to go to a break. We come back, we're going to wrap up this section. And then, of course, we're going on to two other important topics you want to hear about tonight. As you can tell, we're going extended on the eve of our anniversary. We're an hour tonight. Y'all been begging for an hour? Well, you got an hour tonight. We're back after this.
They say time flies when you're having fun, but can you believe it's been 1 year since Eyewitness News made its debut? We're the new news standard, and to show our appreciation for your support, we're having a week-long celebration. We'll highlight some of the best moments in news since 2018. We take the fun to the streets of the capital on Saturday at 11 a.m. with an exciting float parade. Come out to see the country's top news reporters as we spread the love. And then join us at R.M. Bailey Park, where the float parade will culminate at 2 p.m. There will be 20 exciting pop-up vendors for you to enjoy sweet treats and so much more. And then on Sunday, we invite you to celebrate with us at our anniversary church service to be held at Trinity Assembly City of Praise. It's our 1 year anniversary, and we want you to celebrate with us.
Welcome back. Of course, we are talking about the hot button issues in the media. Obviously, the lawsuit is before the Supreme Court now with two senior officers who have taken the government to court because they said a wrong decision in their view was made and they were overstepped for this position and they shouldn't have been. Is this a new norm that people will now take you to court if they believe that they've been treated unjustly?
People should. I mean, that is what the court is supposed to. And if our courts worked more efficiently, then I think we would have less of what Lee talked about earlier, which is a lot of people. Oh no, you said it actually, that Bahamians will complain about a situation and not take any real action. And the court is a place of recourse, right? Particularly around these issues, and there is an opportunity here to set some precedent to discipline, if necessary, a branch of government that sometimes, and I'm speaking specifically about the executive, that sometimes gets a little power drunk, right? Gets a little, and we're seeing this in the United States as well, where Trump is battling with Congress and the courts in some instances, but also trying to stack the courts so that he doesn't have to. This is why we have checks and balances in democracies. And if you feel like you've been wronged because of political reasons, in a government structure, then it is your right as a Bahamian to go to the court. Now, again, it should be our privilege that the courts work, in an efficient way, and they don't, right? And we need to improve that. But that is what the courts are there for.
What I think is going to have to happen, I mean, in order for this to all pan out well, I believe that, okay, so they're going to have their day before the court, fine. At some point, I think the Prime Minister is going to have to say, Marvin, I know murder done, but listen, I need to put you in charge of social services for a little while. And it's because, like, he's now beginning to set a mode of operandi, right? He interfered with the Frank Smith case, according to the chief magistrate. Here we now see two other very senior public servants saying, listen, this man is he's finagling with the goings on of the prison services. Ministers cannot operate in that fashion. And I don't think he is aware that he is actually politically interfering with these organizations. So I think what the Prime Minister needs to do is walk him back. And this is why Prime Ministers have to be commanding people. The Prime Minister has got to walk him back. I like you. I'm sure you could win Mount Moriah again. You light skin and murder down. But what I need to do is put you in charge of, I don't know, some special project somewhere.
But interestingly, while we're on national security, before we move off this topic, people have found even the appointment of the new acting Deputy Commissioner of Police, Paul Roll, interesting, because Paul Roll would have been the man who headed up the new the new corruption, what do you call it? The
digger in the jail unit?
Yeah, that unit, the corruptions unit, that unit that was started with this new administration to go after people who were being corrupt and government. Did we find that ironic that the same man that heads that up now gets the position as Deputy Commissioner of Police?
I don't know.
No, because it is also alleged that he is a good friend of the minister. So again, there you see the same type of operation.
And the opposition came across and said, Because the announcement came out, we are proud to make this announcement. We've advised Her Majesty,
and Philip Davis say,
we've advised Her Excellency, and we've consulted with the leader of the opposition. The opposition came and said,
Philip say, they ain't talk to me. They ain't talk to me.
And again, for me,
to me, it was not agreed, and no one seemed to have done anything about that. The fact that the opposition came out and said your statement is a lie.
Yeah.
But what even was
Shouldn't
worse
there
was
be
the minister's
consequences
cover
for
up of
that?
it.
In my mind, these are unforced errors as well. Like these are easy things to solve, right? In my opinion, and it is that appearance of impropriety. If he is in fact the minister's friend, why would you even put yourself in this position? You know what I mean? If that's the case, let's just avoid it altogether and do things as you promised during the campaign, transparently and with accountability. No, it's not gonna happen.
That was on the Gambian. But again, Clint, you see the tune coming back again. You all are a lying bunch. And the leader, none less than the leader of Her Majesty's Loyal Opposition, say they write on a piece of paper that they tell the Governor General and they tell me. Well, I know if they tell the Governor General, but they ain't tell me nothing.
Yeah,
that's serious.
I think that's
those
huge.
are the kinds of things that in a
So then,
working
should that
Westminster-
appointment still stand, or should that be reversed?
Well, the minister came back and said that he didn't need to, right? Isn't that what he said? That,
Right.
that there was no need to. And my question becomes,
but the law
well, if you
says-
did not need to,
Then why would you say it?
then why would you?
Yeah.
I
With consultation shall have consultation.
think they ought to make Marvin Dames the Speaker of the House of Assembly. Let's just put him somewhere where he can't get in trouble. He could still collect a salary and...
I want to move on. Here's this statement coming in today. This statement coming in today from the opposition spokesperson on sports and culture, which is Picewell Forbes. It says, on huge government delegation to Japan for the IAAF relays. Here's what it says. I'll read it to you in its entirety. This government of hypocrites who unceremoniously canceled the IAAF track and field relays because they claim it was too expensive, led a huge delegation on a jaunt to Japan to watch the same relays they canceled in 2017. The reported delegation includes the Minister, Lanisha Roll, her husband, the Director of Sports, the Deputy Permanent Secretary, Darren Turquest, Pauline Davis-Thompson, Lisa Russell, the Minister's personal assistant, In the absence of a clear and cogent development plan for sports and cultural development for the benefit of our youth and young athletes, the government's action comes across as selfish, hypocritical, and exploitative of the country's athletes at a waste of scarce public financial resources, especially the VAT money. What is the purpose of this trip? Other than a free jaunt at taxpayers' expense to show government support for the same Bahamian athletes the Minister administration disrespected and turned their backs on. That it is hypocrisy in the worst form. Instead of exploiting athletes and wasting taxpayers' money, the government should articulate a comprehensive plan for the development of sports and culture for our youth and athletes, where Bahamians can own and operate this industry as a significant pillar of the Bahamian economy. A good start would be for the government to complete the sporting facilities and sports academy on Morris Island, facilities throughout the Family Island started by the PLP. Stark contrast, the FNM, the PLP remains committed to transforming sports and culture into a significant pillar. That is our pledge and commitment and so forth. Picewell Forbes. So, a large delegation goes to Japan. I'm sorry. I was taken back by the fact that she and her husband and her assistant all went to Japan. Your thoughts on this? Now, bear in mind, we had only two teams scheduled to compete in Japan: the 4x4 men's and the 4x2. So only 8 athletes. I think actually if you include the extras who go along in case somebody get injured, maybe about 10 to 14 athletes the most that went. Not a big team. And then of course you would have heard the results where one pulled out and the other one got disqualified. So there was really nothing to see. But we had a contingent of government officials who traveled to Japan. And if you know anything about airline tickets, Japan is not cheap. Japan is about $2,000, $3,000 for regular seats. If you're in first class, it's a minimum of $9,000 per ticket. That's facts. So, your thoughts on this?
I mean, it does. Honestly, it does seem to be a bit much, right?
This was the same minister who couldn't go to Carifta with the 70-member Carifta team
Yes.
because she had to open a basketball tournament here.
Yes, yeah.
But she went to Japan with the 14, 18, 12-member team.
I think it's those comparisons that really are a problem. I mean,
Maybe she took them as backup runners.
who? Not the people who I know and who gone on that delegation. They ain't running nowhere.
Darren Turngus is kind of slim.
Sorry, my
He may
friend,
be able-
and I gotta apologize to Darren because
He may be able to pull off.
No, Darren ain't running nowhere, man. That's my boy.
Do you believe that's warranted? That's taxpayers' money. Was it warranted to carry such a elaborate delegation to Japan?
Well, I mean, I think it also depends on the purpose of the trip as well. So you're going to watch, right? But are you doing other government business? And I think this is where Mr. Forbes' statement becomes important.
Yes.
Because is there a cogent development plan around sports and youth and culture that you are going to Japan to help make a reality, right? And I hear the complaints about the canceling of the IAAF, but was that the best deal, and are you trying to get a better one for us? And I got some intel from Japan about how that all went, and you know, maybe something will come out of it. But I do think, again, where there is no communication, what you see is a dray load of people.
Who do you imagine?
Don't do this, Lee. No, don't do this.
Because
I'm not going to do this with you tonight.
There was something else. That's
I'm not
going
gonna
to
do this with you tonight.
negotiation.
I'm not gonna do
And I have
this.
to ask, who then would
just-
be allowed to negotiate at that
I
level?
just-
That's what I'm
on
wondering.
behalf of it. Because what I heard in the article was that the husband gone, the makeup artist or whoever
The
else
assistant,
gone.
personal assistant.
Yeah. And
Deputy Permanent Secretary
so
Darren.
who exactly? I mean, I hear you, right?
They
And
can
I
open the
feel you.
conversation.
With who? The guy that sweeps the gym?
She's a minister.
Yes, so she could negotiate on
Yeah.
behalf of the...
So if we're going to advance that conversation, shouldn't you have called a press conference before you're leaving, even at the
And
airport, and saying, "Listen, we are on a quest.
This is my point.
To be able to talk and to begin dialogue,
This is
so
my
that maybe
point.
people know why you're going."
And shouldn't
Yeah,
you
this is
take
my
your
point.
Even
minister
didn't the
for
prime
a
minister
bit?
do that when he was going?
Yeah,
Did he
this
say
is my
why
point.
I'm going?
Shouldn't you take your... If you
Your
say...
foreign affairs
if you
minister?
say, listen, okay,
Your
so
chief
we're getting
policy
to run,
advisor,
we're getting to
Liz?
run,
This is my point.
And just in case some other business there, we'll probably take the minister for financial services, just in case.
Yeah.
And or the minister...
Okay, so all I'm saying
Because
is
I
that
just
it's
wanna make sure me and you in the same
possible.
room.
No, all I'm saying that it's possible that some other things were going on.
Yes, like
But
what?
I do think that Mr. Forbes' point is correct. There needs to be an articulation of a cogent development plan around these issues. And I think it was a missed opportunity as well for the PLP to either reiterate or introduce some new plan around this as well, some new vision, right? So I think that was a missed opportunity. But, you know, I mean, I just...
All this proves to me is that Danny Johnson was right. And that you people have had no plan for sports in this country for a long time. And that all the bickering and snickering that y'all did a couple of weeks back that Danny Johnson somehow miraculously couldn't account for $1 million was hogwash. You know why? Because y'all don't know what a sports development plan looks like. Y'all don't know what an international sports brand look like. So you take a band of misfits and fly them from here the hell away to Japan to do nothing. Why? Because you have no idea what
Right.
should be done.
And I think again, this is why the sports authority is set up, so it can be an
Precisely.
independent body who knew the field, knew the industry, knew the career, and knew how to advance the industry and career. Politicians can't do that. You need professionals who can run independent of any kind of political
Precisely.
thing and operate and cast a vision.
Yeah.
I'll say this much: I thought that IAAS World Relays was a great time to capitalize on a brand that belonged to the Bahamas.
Correct.
It's like what Wimbledon brought to the UK.
Yes.
It's like what other brands, you go with the relays, the Penn Relays did. We were beginning to own something that belonged to the Bahamas
I agree.
and had the potential to be
agree.
enormous years in.
which
the
is-
IAAS in the Bahamas World Relays was something that we would watch in years to come be humongous.
Yep.
Investment in tourism.
Which is why I guess I'm coming from a place of hopefulness that given the way that the delegation was laid out, that there was an opportunity for us to engage in quality discussions about how we can perhaps get back to a place where that's where that's a possibility.
No.
Y'all ain't buying
No.
it.
You really believe the minister and the only other governmental person on that team, I think, was the minister, Darren Jungwirth, and of course we heard some ILAS reps like Pauline Davis Thompson, who we know no matter where she is, she gonna advocate for the Bahamas have anything.
And I got that, and
right?
I understand.
But at the end of the day, that decision has to come from way up on the cabinet level.
Again, I say this as hopeful, and in the hopes that we will see something that comes out of the trip in the near future, some kind of communication, something.
What I want you to take into
Clinton buying
consideration.
it.
What I want you to take into consideration, Joey, is this: Canada has a prime minister in charge of their youth and sports.
Oh,
because they take it
well,
seriously.
yes, and
what we cannot do is allow this woman to whimsically walk around, lost like a sheep, and hope that a sports plan will formulate itself for this country.
My thing is, first of all,
maybe she too needs to be caught up in a cabinet shuffle.
Again?
Hey,
we're gonna take a break. We're gonna come back. My thing is not even a process. If you're going, shouldn't you have met with your team of sports experts
agree.
here
I mean,
with a plan and
my-
carry a plan?
You would have to be as the minister. You would have to be briefed. There would have to be some process in place.
all this
I'm
is
just
a
saying I'm
field trip.
hopeful.
Get your mommy to sign it, and once your mommy sign, you
We're back
could go.
after this. We're taking a break. Back after this.
They say time flies when you're having fun, but can you believe it's been 1 year since Eyewitness News made its debut? We're the new news standard, and to show our appreciation for your support, we're having a week-long celebration. We'll highlight some of the best moments in news since 2018. We take the fun to the streets of the capital on Saturday at 11 a.m. with an exciting float parade. Come out to see the country's top news reporters as we spread the love, and then join us at R.M. Bailey Park, where the float parade will culminate at 2 p.m. There will be 20 exciting pop-up vendors for you to enjoy sweet treats and so much more. And then on Sunday, we invite you to celebrate with us at our anniversary church service to be held at Trinity Assembly City of Praise. It's our 1-year anniversary, and we want you to celebrate with us.